Could you just give a quick introduction to the chat about who are you? Just brief history of your life.
Okay, we can do that.
No pressure.
Yes. Okay, so I'm Luke Martin. I'm 30 years old. I'm a professional poker player. I've been a professional poker player now for 8 years. My screen name on PokerStars is stickman1988. My Twitch name, as you see, is stickmanpoker. I recently started streaming cash and intend to maybe do so over the next couple of years. But yeah, brief history of my life. I went to university, graduated in 2010, studied strength and conditioning science, which is a similar degree to sports science, but realised it wasn't really my passion career-wise. Got into poker when I was at university, and just kind of fell into the professional career, really.
So you got into poker at uni?
Yeah. I got into poker my third year at university, where I basically saw a friend of mine at their house playing on full-tilt poker on their laptop. And I remember I just sat down next to him on the couch and asked what he was doing. And he was like, I'm just playing some poker. And he was playing a $3.30 9-man turbo sit and go.
Okay,
and
nice.
By the time I started watching him, I remember there was maybe 4 people left, and he ended up winning it for, I guess, around $15. I can't remember the exact structure back then, but I remember I sat there for sort of 15, 20 minutes, made $20, and then he bought into a $9 one, and then he won that for another $30 or $40, whatever it was. And I remember just thinking, this guy just made $50 to $60 in an hour, and I was just like, oh, that's crazy.
Wow.
I was sort of he's like, yeah, you can do it too, and then
you can do it too.
Bucks on full-tilt poker, and hour later had lost $30. I was just kind of maybe I'm not so good at this yet, and deposited another $30 and decided to play much lower stakes, because I think I just bought into the $9 ones, as you do or whatever.
Sorry, you said that you then lost $30 in. I thought you said he bought it.
I lost my $30 deposit almost instantly.
Okay, so you remember the first time playing for real money online?
Yeah.
And what was the first game again? Sorry.
Sorry.
What was the first game that you played for real money? I think you just said
a 9-man turbo.
9-man turbo. Okay.
And it was maybe a $9 or a $12.
It's kind of fitting, isn't it? It's kind of a very respectable game to be your first online game for money, I think.
Yeah.
I think some people have more ambitious debuts, forays into the online poker world. I'm thinking, maybe some 200 NL, just maybe a shot at the million or something.
Yeah, a lot of people. I've got friends that are recreational players, and they deposit on a weekend. They deposit £200, and then they'll buy into 100 NL, and they're just it's just they're always shocked when they work that evening, It's,
especially after watching some poker on YouTube, they know how to bluff.
Yeah. Oh, definitely, yeah.
So you said how you first came across online poker, but and you went to uni. But what were you kind of doing before poker? Just what did you enjoy doing basically before you started playing a lot of poker in your spare time?
Well, I wouldn't say what I enjoy doing as such, but when I graduated university, on the day I graduated, I got offered a job in IT and telecommunication sales, business to business, and which at the time, I was just out of university, really hungry to sort of earn money and stuff, and thought, this can be really good. And I did it for 9 months and just hated it really. Just wasn't for me. And I remember every lunch break at work, I would just be reading poker forums and just reading articles and stuff. And then I lived with my parents still, and I was maybe a 5-minute journey from home. And I would get home, open the laptop straight away at home, jump on full-tilt poker, play for an hour, and in that hour I was making the same amount of money I'd make mostly in a day at work. And it was just kind of I spent 1 hour or 1.5 hours, and I've been at work for 8 hours to kind of make that. And that on top of hating my job, I was constantly thinking the poker dream, maybe I could quit and do this web and stuff. And yeah, I remember I had a long-time girlfriend at the time, So it's kind of, there's a lot to sort of take into account. It's like, oh, this seems like you seem like a way to just like quit like a career to then go and pursue this like impossible poker dream kind of thing. When in reality, I still sucked at poker, you know. So it's kind of like, it was just one of these things where I hated my job, and there was this just, I can't remember the exact thing. This final thing at work happened where my role was kind of changing, and it was going to push me into much more like telesales, so like, you know, selling to people on the phone.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm young enough that I've got a degree, I can get another job if this doesn't work out. I'm going to just sort of go for it. And quite fortunately stumbled into an acquaintance as well, who put me in touch with a already kind of well-established poker player who sort of sponsored me and kind of coached me, and just kind of went from there really.
Okay, we've already got a question. How's it going? What a life 333 Smith. He asks. This is very, very. Well, I'm interested to see how you answer this. What does he play usually?
Okay, so my main game currently is 100 NL Zoom on Poker Stars. I play a little bit of 100 NL on Run It Once as well, which just launched. I'm sure Pete, I've seen Pete playing that. Before that, the last year or so, I've been playing quite heavily in these China app-based games that I'm sure a lot of people have heard of. That's why I've not been interactive in Stars for the last couple of years. Before that, I actually played some live poker in LA. So yeah, I've been around.
Yeah, well, we'll talk more about what you've played, what formats and stuff in a bit. I'm just looking at the chat now. See a special guest or a special appearance, someone you know, Slog.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you can see, but Slog's contributing quite nicely to the chat. How's it going, Slog?
I haven't seen that for a while.
Yeah.
Reminds me of the Skype days.
Yeah, Skype days. Tiny Nigel. Wow, is that Stickman? Yeah, I think there's only one Stickman.
It's actually not. There's one other Stickman that when I got asked the other day on my stream, are you the Stickman that plays Nosebleeds Yellow? And I was like, nope.
Oh, okay. So apparently it's not him. Stickman1988. That's the one, Slog. Yeah. So you said a bit about when you first got into poker and at uni and what you were doing before, and you didn't like it. So back then, when you were just getting more into poker and thinking maybe I could do this, did you have any kind of old school kind of favorite players? I don't want to say heroes, but you know what I mean. Did you have any people that you used to maybe see on TV and just think, oh, that guy's awesome?
See, I want to say no, but at the same time, when I think back to when I was at university, and it sounds like such a fish thing really, but like we would watch the Dwan challenge.
The what challenge?
The Dwan challenge.
Oh yeah.
So I remember watching with like a few of my university friends. We'd watch this heads up challenge where this one guy, this young dude, would challenge anyone. And he would basically play live heads up for, I can't remember the amount of stakes, but it was huge amounts of money. And I remember just sat there with like a pizza watching all my friends play. So you'd be like, one play some like Disney man, like a guy called Sammy, I think it was.
Oh, was it George or something?
Oh, it was the George.
Was it George? Yeah, I've seen that as well. I've seen that.
Yeah. And getting him to
quite fun to watch.
Like a ridiculous hand, I can't remember what it was. It might even been a full house, and it was just like getting to fold like this massive whale businessman
who just has loads of money.
Like, yeah, and he's just like, and Dwan's got classic, like 7 high or whatever, whatever trash he ends up getting in the hand with, and then just like blows this guy off like a $50,000 pot or whatever it is, and I'm just like, yeah. So I kind of thought he was a bit of a beast back in the day. We were playing $3 sitting goes in line. Tom Dwan, I think, is everyone's hero, Yeah.
I have to agree with you. Those Dwan challenges were just kind of mind-boggling. Couldn't really. At the time, I remember thinking like, how good must this guy be? Where he'll take on anyone. Like, surely no one would say that unless they knew they were just like the best player in the world, kind of thing. But
yeah.
So you kind of thought he was a bit of a beast, but you don't really recall many other people.
No, the first time I really remember that kind of stuff was less of like televised and live poker players. It's more like when you started playing like online, and
okay.
I remember when I first started playing heads up singos, I was playing $30 heads-up hyper turbos. And I remember, you'd watch the high-stakes lobbies with guys playing like 1K, like $1,000 heads-up hyper turbos. And the two main names that stick out for me back then were Hercules and Skywalker.
Yep.
I would just check their graphs, and it was just like, like just a straight line up millions of dollars. And I was just thinking like, that's just insane kind of thing.
But you know what it is though? It's just the small fields. That's what it is.
Small fields, exactly.
Yeah, they do have some pretty awesome graphs.
Being so like, you'd hear people say things like, "Oh, the only reason they win that much is because like they only sit fish, then they get sat by whales and stuff."
Yeah.
And I remember like, the thing is like you've got to take into account the level of respect that you have to earn for like the high stakes players to never, but they're only getting sat by fish because everyone else is just like, I'm staying the hell away from those guys,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it is pretty crazy.
I've just seen Mikey in the chat. Sky's got a 9.
How's it going, Mikey? Mikey's here. Mikey, are you at work? I've missed some
Tiny Nigel's written a question, I think.
Tiny Nigel, what do you think about this gap in your CV when you played poker full time? In case that you want to go back to some full-time job after years of playing poker, or where do you see yourself in the future? Want to play poker as long as possible, or maybe go back to full-time job or start some business? I guess there's a couple of questions there, but they're good questions. So yeah.
I think, I don't know about yourself, Pete, but I think every kind of poker player. Also, is it possible to potentially for you to turn down your audio a little, just because I think I hear myself echo a little?
Turn me down or everything down?
Me down.
Turn you down. Okay, we'll try that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we'll try that. I might move my speaker back a bit as well, see if that helps.
Okay, awesome. So I was saying, like, I think that most players I'm sure everyone has like considered that at some point in their career, right? Isn't the whole CV gap issue?
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
What if poker dies tomorrow and you've been playing poker professionally for 8 years? Like, what are you going to do, kind of thing?
Yep.
Especially if you're not like financially secure or you haven't, made some like diversified, so to speak, revenue streams. And I think that obviously is an issue. But having said that, like, I think poker does offer a lot of transferable skills to the work marketplace in a lot of areas of business and trading. And I think a lot of people like high up in businesses do acknowledge the level of skill involved in poker. For example, I think if you'd said that like 10 years ago, you'd have a lot of trouble in the business market. But I think nowadays people acknowledge the level of intelligence and math-based skill that goes into poker and the decision-making and logic that is so transferable to many other businesses. So I think it's not as big of an issue these days, although it is obviously still an issue. I just think it's the trade-off for having this kind of job flexibility and potential financial rewards from poker, as opposed to like doing some kind of a job. So and as for questions of like where I see myself in the future, I don't think poker is going to be for me for like forever. I think a lot of poker players feel that way. I know Pete kind of does see himself in it for the long term. Pete maybe loves poker a lot more than I do. But yeah, I think the dream or the goal is to just diversify as I get older. Have poker. Say the thing is more like 90% poker, 10% other business. Just gradually dial that down to less poker and more other businesses, and whether it be property or cryptocurrencies, lol, and then, or other kind of ventures. That's obviously the plan as I get older, to just sort of develop more of a passive income stream and less time spent actually like clicking buttons, I guess.
Okay. Do you think that in terms of transferable skills from poker to other aspects of work, other types of work, do you think that the difference between now and say 10 years ago, do you think that the skills are now more transferable, or do you think that for some reason other markets are kind of recognizing our skills more than they were 10 years ago? Do you think there's a difference there?
Yeah, I think this is it's a combination of both. I think firstly that the recognition is a huge thing. Like 10 years ago, poker was just seen as gambling, and it was seen as just no different to playing roulette or blackjack. Or
so you don't think it's still seen as gambling?
I do think it is. I just think the more intelligent people who often are people that are in position to give you jobs in business acknowledge that it isn't gambling. And I think it's less considered gambling as it was 10 years ago. And on top of that, I think the skills are now more transferable, because I think the reason why it was seen more as gambling 10 years ago is because essentially it probably was slightly more gambling back then, because people had less strategy and less study involved. It was less analysis. It was more just, I like poker, and it was a lot more intuitive, which doesn't necessarily mean it had less skill, but I think it is fair to say that there is a lot more skill involved in poker today than there was, even 5 years ago. And there'll be more skill involved in poker in 5 years' time than there is now. Okay,
so that's really interesting. So you think that some of the people on the outside who do maybe have positions of power or own companies or something, even they realise that to be a professional poker player in 2019 takes more specialised skills than it would have done perhaps 10 years ago. Taking aside things like intuition and kind of gut instinct or kind of fearlessness, but when you actually pinpoint a few more skills like analysing statistics and stuff like that, you think people outside the poker world are even realising that?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I think that people acknowledge that there's a lot more into just playing cards in poker. There's a lot more than just playing cards. It's not just because people used to think it was all about chance and playing the cards, and then people sort of thought there's the whole sort of movement where it's like people said things like it's about playing the player and not the cards, and
sure.
It's just purely like soul reading people, like look into someone's eyes and know exactly what hand they have and etc. Whereas I think now people realise there's a lot more analysis that goes into it, and it's a lot more probability and statistical side to poker than just putting your opponent on an exact hand and going, I think you bluffing and calling,
Yeah. I'm just glancing back to chat, and What Alive says that Sammy Any2 George guy was actually Busto. I played 1-1 with him a few months after that show. That's crazy. Well,
he was a millionaire at the time.
Maybe you shouldn't have played Dwan.
Maybe you should play Dwan herself.
Wow. Tiny Nigel. Okay. Well, I think Tiny Nigel was also perhaps asking if the time comes where you actually do give someone a CV, will you or will you not mention that you're a full-time professional poker player for 5-10 years?
As well, and I think that the answer to that comes down to it's like very situationally dependent. So what I mean by that, and I think every CV should be. I mean, I'm not a career advisor, so I'm not an expert on this, but like I would assume it would be situationally dependent. In the fact that if you're applying for a job that you think poker has incredibly relevant skills to, such as trading or investment or that kind of area of analytics, then I definitely think you should put online poker on your CV and then like elaborate on how those transferable skills are really relevant.
Sure.
If you're going for a job, like know what relates to those skills, then I might just put on the CV that I've been traveling for a few years or.
Okay.
I mean, your job is when you do a CV, right? Everyone kind of lies on their CV, and you try and paint yourself in the best light as possible to make yourself the ideal candidate for that position, right? So if you think it's going to benefit you in that situation, then of course include it. And if you think it doesn't really have that much of a significant benefit, or even could be detrimental, then of course I wouldn't include it.
Okay, interesting. Just before we go back to the chat questions, and this is a pretty damn vague question, but I'm going to ask you anyway. What would you say that you enjoy most and least about poker?
Enjoy the most about it. Do you mean the game itself or being a professional poker player?
Any or both.
Okay.
Just in general. Is there anything that either being a player or, I guess I meant more being a player, but okay. For instance, in enjoying the most, you could be the guy that loves to make a hero call, or for an MTT guy, what do they enjoy most? I think it's pretty obvious, right? Winning an MTT. But it could just be more general than that, in terms of you enjoy your own hours or something like that. So it is very general. But is there something that you particularly value as a poker player?
Okay, cool. Yeah. I think this is a really boring answer, and I think pretty much just everyone's sort of top 5 answers to this, but just the freedom and flexibility it gives you to work when you want, wherever you want. Basically.
But I don't think it's a cop-out at all, because pretty much most people that ask us about our jobs, when they're like, oh, that's interesting, does that mean you can work when you want? And then we say, kind of, yeah, but they always, seem so envious of that, don't they? So I think it's something that a lot of people would like.
And that's what I love about Zoom. It's just you pay 100 and you pay 100 Zoom, you can pretty much any time of night, or definitely any time of day, from almost anywhere in the world, you can just click open new client and be like before tabling Zoom in like seconds of opening.
Sure.
And then you can just do a session. Your friend says, hey, we're going bowling. You can just close down your session, go bowling with your friends, go out for dinner, do whatever you want to do. Which also I think is really great for. I'm not in a relationship, but if you are in a relationship, it's really good to be able to have that kind of flexibility with your partner, as I'm sure you, as a married man, you can probably appreciate. To be able to choose to fit your work diary around your partner or
sure.
Sure. If you've got a big wedding coming up, you're a school teacher or something, often you get a lot of trouble to make those sort of commitments.
Yeah.
Whereas with us, you've got to fly back to the UK, or you've got to fly away for a friend's bachelor party, whatever it might be. You can just do it whenever you want.
Yeah.
It's very lucky to be in that position.
Yeah. I think, again, for probably people watching, and us, it might be too obvious, but I think there is a distinction between choosing your own hours and just choosing never to work. Because again, when you say that you can work when you want, the next question people often say is, oh, so you can just take holidays whenever you want, or just take a week off whenever you want.
Yeah.
And you can't deny that. You can't say, no, I can't do that, because you obviously can. But it's not really a case of just choosing not to work, because we're self-employed. If you never work, you never have any money. It's just more a case of, like you said, if there's a wedding or a bachelor party, a stag do, or just a friend's birthday party, or you want to go to the cinema, those are things you can do. If you want to take Thursday night off, you can take Thursday night off. If you want to take Monday morning off, you can take Monday morning off. But you still have to put in hours.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just pure flexibility of when you take your days off. So if you think, okay, you work Monday to Friday, and let's say you work 5 days a week and it's Monday to Friday, and you've got a big thing happening on the Wednesday or the Friday, you can just go, oh, okay, cool, I'm going to put in more hours on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday if I still want the weekend off, or I'm going to just say, okay, I'll just step into the office on the Sunday for a couple of hours, and put the hours in elsewhere. So it's just purely not being tied down to I'd really love to come and do that, but I can't because my work shift is 8 p.m. till like midnight or whatever.
Sure. Yeah. Glancing back to the chat, how's it going, Walk of Life? I don't understand your question, but thank you for joining. Run Like Craig. Where do you think the next boom in poker will come from? Obviously, shows like Late Night Poker brought a lot of people to the game back in the day, but poker shows are dying now, so is there another avenue you can see for bringing people to the game?
That's a good question as well. So it becomes difficult because if I talk about things like China, where I think there is particularly a poker boom currently, it's also very unregulated and quite shady, as in it's actually illegal to play online poker in China. Which is kind of ironic that they're going for a poker boom, because the way the Chinese work is they don't really mind playing illegal poker, so that's just why it can be so successful. So, but as for a more traditional, I guess, Western poker boom, I think there could be a number of things. I think potentially more of the United States becoming more regulated and allowing to be like brought back into the market could bring a boom. If I'm being honest, and it sounds quite pessimistic, I don't think there will be like another huge poker boom. I just don't think it will happen. But that's not me. That's not the same as saying that poker's dead or is dying. I just don't think. I think the glory days are kind of over.
Okay.
And as for what could change that, I don't really know. And I'm sure the good people at Poker Stars and other various sites will figure that out for us. Maybe it's more chests.
Chests. Luke, would you tell us about your experience playing live poker?
Yeah, so I think it was in 2017 or maybe late 2016. I don't remember exactly. I moved to Los Angeles for 6 months, or 7 months, but and I played live cash games out there, which I had a lot of fun doing. I was pretty well out of, mostly stakes wise, played mostly 5-10, a little bit of 10-20, and a little bit of 5-5 cap games, which were actually really fun. And really
5-5 cap?
Yeah, so there's like $500 buy-in is the maximum you can buy in for.
Okay.
And the blinds were, small blind was 5, big blind was 5. And it just meant it was capped at 100 blinds. But those games were like often way more action than the 5-10 games where you could buy in for like $1,500.
But it was a capped buy-in, it wasn't a capped pot?
No, okay. It was a capped buy-in.
Okay.
And the 10-20 games where it's like uncapped could often be just like so dry, you know. It'd just be like, I remember some games I'd sit in with, there'd be a couple of like semi-professional guys that were more like business owners with a lot of money,
right?
And they would just sit there in a 10-20 game with like $20,000 in front of them, and they would just not play a hand for 3 hours, and then they'd cash out. And it'd become more of a thing of like, I just wanted to show people how much money I have that I could put on the table to sit here and eat my nice drink and drink my nice drink and eat some nice food, and then I'm gonna leave now that I feel better. I feel like I put everyone in their place, you know. It's just kind of that kind of thing. So, but yeah, so I did that for a while. Haven't really played that much live. A couple of live tournaments, but like kind of small ones and stuff. And then obviously, you and I went to Tallinn last month for the MPN.
Yeah.
We played a little bit of cash, me unsuccessfully, and you did okay. And then the tournament, I did okay in the tournament.
You did. What's that to your right behind you?
Yeah, that's my main event trophy for.
Can we have a little look?
Of course. I've got still got games to pick it up.
Sounds very metallic.
It does sound metallic. I'm not sure because the stream's on a bit of a delay, so I can't see myself. But
it is a nice trophy. It's heavy as well, isn't it? I mean,
it's really heavy.
Not with someone with your gains, but it's heavy for a trophy, isn't it?
It's heavy for a trophy. Yeah, it's surprisingly heavy.
It's nice.
Yeah, that's really fun, obviously. And,
It was a fun trip, definitely. It was really nice. What was it? It was 4 nights, wasn't it, in Tallinn? And it was nice and snowy. We didn't spend too much time, outside, but it was nice. But would you tell us just a little bit more about? I mean, it's maybe a bit boring, but just the poker aspect of things during that tournament that you won. How was it to go from those cash games in LA? Have a break for a couple of years, and then just out of nowhere go and play a tournament and win the whole thing, the main event.
Yeah, it was pretty funny, honestly, because obviously, as you remember, you basically dragged me there. Like I didn't want to go.
I did.
You were like,
I guilt tripped you. I was like, "Don't make me go alone, Luke."
Yeah, you kind of baited me into it as well. That's because you were like, "Oh, I think there's this cash game festival in Tallinn coming up."
Yeah.
For those who don't know, I'm a cash game player and pizza tournament player. And I never play tournaments, so like even online, I just that's just not my thing. And so people said, "Oh, there's this cash game tournament in Tallinn. Do you want to go to it?" And I said, "Oh, that sounds kind of fun. Yeah, we could do that." And then he did like kind of fess up and say, "Oh, actually, this one's a tournament schedule." But then he was like, "Surely there'll be cash games. There'll be cash games." And like, long story short, I was just like, "Fine, whatever. I'll come with you. We'll go." And then so we go there, and we get there the night before the main event that we're going to buy into. And we decided to play some cash, and the only cash that was running was 2-2, which is lower stakes cash than I've played live, and not particularly like a thrilling game, but you can buy in for as much as you wanted. So we're buying for like €400, and I remember we played for like a few hours maybe. I can't remember exactly how long. Maybe you remember. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I don't remember. I guess. It was longer than we wanted, wasn't it? It was probably 5 or 6 hours before we left.
Yeah,
it probably was. It probably was maybe 5 hours.
Yeah, it was, because we finished about 1 a.m. because we didn't want to play late because we had the main event at midday the next day.
Yeah.
We got there about 7 or 8, didn't we? And we played till about 1 a.m. I remember I lost like €1,200 in like one of the softest games ever. And I'm just like fuck my life. Like I'm supposed to be here for cash games. And then I've got to play this tournament tomorrow that I'm not really thrilled about playing. It's a €550 buy-in, and as I said, it's not really my area of expertise. And then we played the tournament, and the first day went pretty well. And then it's day two, and I'll be honest, like a small part of me was kind of hoping I'll just bust the tournament kind of early, give it my best. But if I'm most likely to bust the tournament, and then I've got a few days just like grinding out cash games, probably hopefully do pretty well out of it. And then it was kind of like day one went well, day two went well, and then it was just kind of it never really caught up to me until we sort of I was at final table. And it was sort of like 5 left, and I was just like, oh damn, I've got pretty far on this thing, It was just kind of like, it's crazy.
And obviously by final table you were on the feature table. The table was being live streamed, wasn't it, to Twitch from the MPN guys?
Well, because as you said, on the first day actually, there's like hundreds of tables or whatever it was, and there was this one feature table, and I draw the feature table for my first live tournament in a long time, and I was just like, this is embarrassing. And I play it, and I remember in the hand I five bet jam ace queen suited versus what was considered to be a decent regular player. So I figured he had a lot more bluffs in his range than potentially he did. He had kings, and I just get there, and it's kind of like the rest of that table. I did play very well at the table, so I was happy, especially being more deep stacked. I was a bit more comfortable, but then. It's kind of, then when we were off the feature table and I could listen to my music and be a bit more chilled, that was much better for me, and I think I did much better work off that table. And then we got down to the sort of the final table. It's pretty interesting. I wasn't particularly nervous about the poker at all. It was more just like nervous about just like looking stupid on camera, it was just kind of weird, but...
I've never been on a stream, but it doesn't sound like a strange fear. I don't know if anyone in chat has been on a feature table, and if they can try and honestly say, obviously you're trying to do your best at the table, but is there any kind of worry involved between kind of looking stupid that you feel that on some level might affect your decisions? Now, I can't blame you at all for that, Luke. It seems like a pretty reasonable concern in the moment.
For sure.
And you couldn't
I'm sure
wear headphones or anything, so you didn't have your chill out music or whatever it was.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, as I'm sure you can relate to, like I found this when I started streaming as well. It's like you play like so many hands of poker, like millions of hands of poker. You make millions, tons of mistakes that are kind of whatever. You make a call you're wrong, you make a bluff, and you get snapped off by like a hand you were trying to get folded.
Yeah.
And you just kind of get over it. You're like, whatever, I'm only human. But then you're on a stream, and you've got like, in my case, 15 people watching me or something, which is not a huge amount. But suddenly you get a really difficult spot where you're like, if I'm wrong here, I look like a bit of an idiot. And even though you probably don't, you're your own worst nightmare or your own worst critic, you don't have that kind of pressure when you play off stream.
Of course.
Of us looking like an idiot or getting it wrong. And it's just something to deal with. And I think that's the same thing with the feature table, is that after a while I just thought, I'm a good player. Like, I make generally sound decisions, and sometimes I make bad decisions, but that's just being human, so...
Yeah. Well, I suppose online poker is the most private form of poker you can get. Then live poker obviously introduces the human interaction, visual aspect of things. And then being on a future table is like another level, isn't it? Where it's not only live poker with interaction, it's interaction being broadcasted to everyone who's not even there. So it's quite different to being in your cave clicking away.
Yeah, and then add on top of that, you've got some guy commenting in like some booth, like commenting saying like, I would have called here instead of 3-bet, or I would have done this, or I don't like this from Luke, whatever. And you just like, and it's and you don't get to sit there and explain your thought process or like justify your decision, which is probably a good thing.
If only you could have explained to everyone at the table why you were doing everything you were doing,
Yeah, exactly. So, and you've got your friends and family watching who aren't necessarily like that experience with poker rules and poker strategy for sure, and they're just hearing this guy's opinion on your play, and they've got no reason to think he's wrong or whatever, other than the fact that they think, oh well, my son or nephew or cousin or friend or whoever it might be. This smart guy probably knows what he's doing. So yeah, it's just it's whatever. You just get used to it. And I think one good thing about the stream, as I'm sure you can probably relate to, is that I found it makes me play a lot better, in the sense that it makes you have to be accountable for every decision you make, right? You can't just like be playing for a bit too long, be a bit tired, and just like kind of somewhat like more relaxed and just be like, oh, whatever, I'm just gonna call it. Like, just make it kind of, you have to really think through your decision and go, I've got 20, 30 people watching me here. I can't just, not that we do make tip calls, but people do, or like, you can't just go, oh, fuck it, I'm gonna do this. You kind of have to
sure
accountable.
Yeah, which is almost certainly a good thing, I guess. So overall, you found the second day being off all feature tables, you found that more comfortable?
Yeah,
the whole day away from the camera, the whole of the second day was away from the cameras.
Yeah, for sure. Day 2 was like, I played really, really well. And day 1 I think I played very solid. I do think I played well, but I also ran pretty good, so it's like easy to say you play well when you just kind of pick up quite a lot of good hands or a really rough spot or whatever. But day 2 I think I didn't run bad, don't get me wrong, but I played a lot more poker almost, that day.
Sure, yeah. So yeah, obviously massive congratulations for winning it, because like we said before, it was a couple of years since you played a live hand, I think. A live hand poker, a couple of years, and maybe that was your 4th live MTT of all time, or something like that.
It was my 4th, actually.
And in terms of online, you've played a hell of a lot of hands, but you've played probably about 50 MTTs lifetime. Yeah, so you just jumped in at the deep end, and you just went with it to please me, really. So thank you for coming with me. It was fun, but I'm glad it paid off, and congratulations.
Yeah, thanks for dragging me along to €50,000.
No worries. Good start to the year, anyway.
Yeah.
So you've just started very recently, doing a little bit of streaming on Twitch with poker. So with that in mind, what would you say your kind of general plans are for the rest of this year?
I do plan to stream a lot more. I do enjoy it, and I think it kind of forces me and motivates me to one, play more hours, and 2, work on my game and make sure I am like playing well, and not just like kind of grinding through and just like you can get really lazy and just like play and just not really work on your game. Whereas I think because I feel the pressure from streaming, honestly, that I feel like I need to be able to justify every decision I make, and I just part of being a bit of maybe some would call it perfectionist, but more possibly just having a bit of an ego, honestly, is that I don't ever want to be wrong. So it's kind of like, there was one particular hand where I actually remember I 3-bet a hand with ace jack, and I don't want to go too technical into it because I know there are a lot of people that aren't too open here, but I basically played the hand where it was quite a simple spot, and I bet the flop a small sizing in a spot that I think is quite clearly better to bet big. And someone basically just called me out on it on the stream and was like, do you think you like that sizing? Okay. And I look back, so I tried to justify it a little bit of time, but when I thought about it, I was like, no, I actually really don't like this sizing. I should have gone way bigger. It was a really wet board. There's a 3-bet pot in a spot where, like I said, I don't get too in depth, but it's quite price insensitive, so I should just be betting big or checking.
Okay.
And so it's one of these spots where that's something where if I just played that off stream, I'd have just clicked the button, moved on, whatever, with a hand. I would never really have thought about it. So that's one good thing I think about streaming, is that it makes you think way more about hands that you would normally consider to be kind of standard. So I think that's one thing I love about streaming. So I'll stream more. And I guess my goal is to I'm playing 100 Zoom this year, which I'm really enjoying Zoom. And kind of just to play loads of hands and just move up, really, because I don't really think there's that many, mid to high stakes cash game players streaming on Twitch, at least not many that I've seen. So it's quite a good area for me to just 100 Zoom's not by any means that high stakes, but it's like there's only up to 500 Zoom that runs, right? And it says 1, 2, and 500.
Yeah.
I think it's not too long before I'm playing 200 Zoom, and then hopefully by the end of this year or some point in this year, I'll be mixing in at least some 500 Zoom, which I think would be quite cool for.
I think it will be cool. There's not many people that ever stream 200, 500 Zoom. I mean, a couple of people that will very occasionally do it. But in terms of someone who's just regularly streaming on Twitch week by week, streaming those games and being a winner, there's not that many.
Maybe there's a reason for that I'll find out. But yeah, that's the plan at least.
Okay. Yeah, but the plan seems good, and it's good to have a plan, isn't it? So.
Yeah. So there's quite a few questions in the chat.
Yeah, let's have a look. Matello. Question: watched one of your streams. I'm not sure if he means your stream or my stream. Picked up someone as being a recreational player and predicted their calls with a high level of accuracy. What are the key tells?
I think this is essentially Mount Class. I think he watched my stream a couple of times.
Okay.
So he said, okay, yeah, so basically a lot of it comes down to population tendencies, I think Pete mentioned before, and that's just, like simplified, it's just a certain way that people generally act that's quite predictable. So that's kind of a huge thing that we use. It's not necessarily like a... and the other tell that we find from particularly recreational players are, which come in the population tendencies as well, is, for example, if it's quite a wet board and they just bet very quickly, very big, as a general rule of thumb, they just have it. So yeah, there's that kind of thing. And on top of that, it comes down to HUD stats sometimes, which comes down to sort of player tendencies. So it's really just a case. There's some spots where you deviate from what would be considered theoretical, like a GTO sort of strategy, which is more like a theoretical way of playing, and you just go to player tendencies and population tendencies, so just general patterns of how people act, and that's more intuitive, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good answer. Missing out a couple of questions here. Get off your cheeks and do it. Star's name for guest. His name is stickman1988 on Stars. What a Life 333 or Smith says you were saying maybe there's a reason why no one streams cash games. I think this is a response to that. People who stream cash games always get regs in their pool watching for reads / exploits, which is true. Yeah, which is true. How do you feel about that? I mean, it's obviously not a good thing, but
I mean, I think I first see it as like, well, if a reg from 100 Zoom is going to watch my stream to try and exploit me, I kind of say sort of good luck to them, because I feel like my strategy's fairly balanced, especially against regulars, that I think even watching my stream, it's going to be difficult for them to exploit me. That being said, I think obviously if I played 500 Zoom now, I'm pretty sure a 500 Zoom reg would just absolutely destroy me really watching the stream. But by the time that I am streaming 500 Zoom, I hope to be in the same sort of spot really, where I don't think it's a spot you have to take into account. If you're going to get maybe a few regs that are able to exploit you from watching your play, so the trade-off really for the benefits of streaming, for maybe losing a little bit of EV versus a couple of players in the pool,
Yep, I completely agree with that. I think it's one of those things that happens, which obviously isn't ideal. But like you said, it's just a trade-off, and you would just weigh up the pros and cons in your own mind, really, just to work out if it's worth it. And yeah, no one wants decent regs who are common villains looking up and kind of exploiting you. But yeah, I guess it's just one of those things you have to weigh up if it's worth it or not.
You also have to ask yourself, is it really worth it for them, to sit and analyze, watch your stream for 6 hours to maybe pick up a couple of tendencies on how you play.
Yeah.
To maybe grab a couple of.
Yeah, I'm certainly not convinced it is
at that time.
Yeah, but I guess people are going to do
investment for them for very little gain, in my opinion. When it's not like if you play a small pool of regs, then I think it is worth it. But you don't necessarily play it, every single pot at the same every time. So it's kind of
and you don't always play the same time during the day. And yeah, I can't help thinking if you're playing 100, 200 Zoom, and there's between 50 and 100 people in the pool, and someone spends 3 hours looking at you, it kind of makes you wonder, well, couldn't you spend 3 hours looking at other things to improve game rather than the chances of playing another 500 hands against this guy in the next month or something, or next 2 weeks if you whatever it is. But what do you think, Smith? Do you think it really is like a massive black mark against cash players streaming? Like, do you think it really is a bad idea? Because I think me and Luke are in kind of agreement that while it's not ideal, and obviously it is clearly minus EV for the streamer in that regard, it probably doesn't massively hurt the bottom line when you think that, okay, maybe 5 out of the 70 people are gonna like watch your stream and pick up a few things. It's like, well, you don't log on to Stars to make money from those 5 guys anyway. They're just people that are there, you know. No one's making money from those good regs in the pool. You wouldn't do it.
The thing for me personally is that, like, so I think what's more interesting is when you say, like, I'm worried about, like, you know, another reg from my pool watching me and exploiting me. I'm not, because for a number of reasons. If I flip it around, if I put myself in their shoes, I would definitely. It's not worth my time to spend, as Pete says, 3 hours studying, you know, a good, decent regular from the pool that I'm playing in, to try and exploit them for, like, you know, a slightly more amount of EV than I currently do, or if I'm, you know, whatever. When I can spend that 3 hours working on my overall game against the general pool, that will help me in way more spots rather than these player-specific spots to just get overall higher EV, which is better for my hourly. That being said, I think the bigger downside to it is to streaming. Is if you start streaming your 100 Zoom player, you'll get a lot more 50 and 25 Zoom players watching you. Like I'll watch like Source, you know, play 500 Zoom kind of thing, and a negative for him, like streaming, is that he gets a lot more, you know, decent mid-stakes players watching him and picking up things that help them move up and making his pool tougher. Likewise, so as I said, you get like a lot of smart 25 and 50 NL players watching you and go, okay, he does this, and they'll benefit their game, and they essentially get a little bit of free coaching kind of thing. So that's I'm definitely not going to argue that I think streaming is slightly minus EV for the player, of course, for a number of reasons. For me, I think the EV trade-off is worth it for the motivation and the, kind of forcing me to make my EV at the tables.
Sure. Well, yeah, it's interesting. I guess it's one of those things in poker that will never be. Well, you can't quantify it, regardless of, you know, which side of the debate you fall on. But yeah, Smith says he wouldn't stream for those reasons. He's definitely picked up things from 200 Zoom streamers and how they play certain spots. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely something to be aware of, I guess.
Yeah. The question from Tiny Nigel is kind of interesting. I think that a lot of beginning players might ask that kind of question.
Yeah, I have missed a couple of questions. I think. Can I go up to NL Padwan?
Yeah.
This is to you. You said 100 Zoom is your main game. Do you think it's necessary to get into solvers and GTO strategy to beat these games, or do you think it's possible to be a good winner by just using exploit strategy and thinking through hands in a logical manner? It's a good question. Yeah. It's almost the question, isn't it? It's the question.
It is the question. You get this question so often, right? And which is a good question for that reason. I think I actually heard a similar question we asked you when I was off the stream, and I think your answer was pretty practically spot on, which is that I actually think you mentioned something about, remember your answer about kind of some people are particularly very good intuitively.
Yeah.
And I think the most important part to your response there is you said that they're quite good intuitively to the extent where their intuition is very close to what the solvers kind of spit out at us.
Yeah.
And I think that the most key thing is between you and I there is that you've done a lot more work in solvers than I have, and often we've run spots. But remember, you've asked me what my opinion would be on it in a spot that I've never ran a simulation on, and then I was just I guess I would do this, and then you run the sim, and the sim comes out, you know, pretty much what I've said, and you've said to me a few times like, oh, my intuition's like very good for that kind of spot.
Yeah.
So I think if you are one of these kind of players, like, then it's not as important. And I think there's like a few other players like that, like Ben Abadby. I think it's one of the ones that you mentioned before. I know he uses solvers a lot more now, but
Ben Abadby is actually Smith's flatmate. So they're in a sick grindhouse, really awesome grindhouse. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're flatmates, unless I've completely got my wires crossed. Hopefully he doesn't mind me saying
how I
that.
answer the question is I don't think it's necessary to get into solvers and GTO. Well, I think they're two different things. So having GTO readless ranges are going to be quite useful against a lot of the population to not get exploited by the regs, but not necessarily. Obviously, you're going to deviate from those when you have, like, for example, your opening ranges will change when you've got weaker players in blinds or different stack sizes, or likewise more aggressive players in blinds. You will deviate your strategy. So I think they're both quite necessary. Understanding what the theory should be, and then understanding that the areas where it's very important to deviate from GTO. So I think your answer was actually spot on, Pete. You basically said thinking through logically, like very logically, will be enough to beat these games, but only if you're very good intuitively and not playing. It's hard to answer it as well as you did, basically.
Okay. So I think we agree on that, Padwan. Smith replies, yes, we are. Haha. They are flatmates, and they are now a Pio house. So they're running their sims. That's good.
I think everyone. Obviously, solvers aren't going to hurt your game unless you're misapplying.
They did hurt my game for quite a long time. I have to say.
Say again.
Solvers hurt my game for quite a while because I was using them incorrectly.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was 50% using them incorrectly. So sorry, I was talking over you, but yeah, I was partially using them incorrectly and partially misapplying pretty crucial theory. So if you're watching maybe poker instructional videos or whatever, and people are using solvers, and you just think, hey, I don't have a solver, I'm going to use a solver. I need something to step up my game a notch. I'm going to download PerSolver and buy it, and I'm going to run simulations. And you've watched a walkthrough, so you know how to put in a range, and then click go. If you just run a simulation and just try and blindly follow a strategy that it spits out at you, unless you have some pointers in the right direction by people who have good experience and kind of know what they're doing, 99.9% of the time, if you just blindly follow it, it's going to lead you massively astray, and one, it's going to confuse you, and two, you're going to be doing some pretty weird things that are going to lose you money. So if we conclude NL Padwan's question, they're certainly not essential, but they're a tool that when you're playing the tougher games, then they start having a real place in kind of your study arsenal, really.
I think the interesting thing about it is it comes down to, if you're a very good player, I think solvers are essential. I think when you're a beginning player, they're less essential because, firstly, if you're not a high stakes or mid stakes player, you're going to be playing games where the solves are less relevant, and likewise, you're much more likely to misapply them and not be able to deviate from them as well as a weaker player. So I think when you're a weaker, really focus more on exploit strategies and thinking through hands in a logical manner, as I said, and learning how to think about a hand and learning what kind of things should affect your deviations. And then once you've got that kind of part of your game down, then you should maybe look more at the kind of theory and what should be inverted commas correct. Because if you want to play correct against players that are more likely to be playing an optimal strategy as well, and not players that are just clicking buttons.
Yeah. Just glancing back over to the chat so I don't miss anything. Tiny Nigel, I think this is a good question. Do you think it's still possible to start playing today and become a pro? What do you think is more effective in cash games? Playing and learning during playing from what you saw, thinking and so on, or doing some pure off-the-table work like analysis?
It's okay, so two questions.
Yeah,
there,
two
right?
questions
So
then.
it's possible to become pro.
Sorry, you do or you don't?
No, so I'm sorry, I'm just reiterating. So the first question is, do I think it's possible to become pro today? I think yes is the answer, of course. It just depends on a number of factors, like how hard are you prepared to work for it. I think that you must have been asked to speak a ton from a lot of your friends that are like poker enthusiasts but not pros, obviously. And they just enjoy poker and they're probably realistically not really winning players, but they love poker. And they'll say things like, oh, I'd love to do that job, or I'd love to be a pro. And it's like, what it comes down to is just like they all could do it if they work hard enough. It's just I think the big wake-up call is when you start to do it and you realise how boring some of the work that goes into getting to where you need to be is. You just don't want to do it, right? It just comes to a point where not actually many people want to invest or sacrifice what they need to actually get to where they want to be. So I do think it is very possible to become a pro and start. I would argue if you didn't know the rules of poker, you could still become a pro, within a certain amount of time. It just takes a hell of a lot of time and effort, and it's very difficult. But yeah, of course it's possible. Yeah. And secondly is what's more effective in cash games, playing or learning during playing, or doing some pure off-table analysis. I think it's more effective. I think it's a difficult question because I think they're both very, very effective. I think you need to do both, essentially. I think obviously playing lots of hands is always going to benefit you, especially if you're a beginning player. Just playing lots and learning from your mistakes and just having poker experience where you get put in lots of different situations and put in lots of horrible situations where you don't have a clue what to do. I think it's really important for developing your poker game. But I think a huge tool to that as well is off-table analysis, running through spots where you're like, okay, what did I do here? Why did I do that? What else could I have done? Because you get a lot of experience from playing the hand, but you don't get very, very much time to sit there and analyze what else you could do. You have to act, you have to make your decision, you have to move on to a new hand. So I think off-table is really important as well, because you need to be able to sit there. I mean, you and I, Pete, how many times have we sat there and spent an hour talking about one hand,
It's true.
All the time. And we've had maybe 15 seconds to make that decision in game. So it's kind of I think both of them are incredibly essential.
Okay, so if for any people who are very new to poker and either very new or at the micro stakes and desperately wanting to improve, so it might be a student who's maybe finding a bit of extra time, or it might be someone who's recently retired and they know the rules, but they're really willing to put in a few hours to improve. Apart from a couple of maybe tips that you might have, do you have any kind of advice of things kind of not to do or things to just watch out for?
The first thing that comes to mind there would be just play lower stakes than you even think you can be. The biggest downfall I think for a new player is they just play too high. They just even if isn't high, they just. One thing I've noticed when my uncle's a recreational player, but
is this
smart
uncle in chat?
Hello from the chat, yeah.
How's it going, Luke's uncle?
Yeah, he's a smart dude and stuff, and works for himself. Intelligent guy, poker enthusiast. But one of the things I found so amazing from when he started playing poker online is he earns a very good living, and he was playing Poker Stars, and he was playing $1.50 heads up sit goes, and it was just it's cool in the chat. And I remember just being that level of discipline for someone who earns a very good living to sit there and play for $1.50. Is a really smart decision. And the reason for it, I think, is he said he's not playing for the money, he plays for the challenge, and it's like playing chess for him, playing for no money is enough. He just wanted to play and test, basically train his brain and have a mental workout essentially.
It is very impressive, yeah.
And I think that's just so difficult to find. I know guys that don't earn great money, but they just they say their words are, I don't get anything out of it if I'm not playing for $20 or for example, right? And that's just very expensive way to learn, and you're probably not going to be able to learn because your bankroll is not going to be able to get you there, kind of thing. So I think the main thing for a beginning player is just play really low stakes, put in lots of hands, and think about what mistake. Don't do the classic thing that people do, which is they get in a hand versus a bad hand, and the guy wins, and they're like, oh, that guy's so bad. So don't focus on what other people have done at the beginning. Focus about what you're doing and where the leaks in your game are and how you can sort of improve your play first.
Okay, I'm just putting a little marker there. So you would say that maybe was it two or three main tips would be play lower stakes than you essentially think you could beat, or whatever you think you should play a bit lower maybe.
Yeah.
And the other one is just play lots of hands. So play really low, so it's not expensive for you to just get some experience. Just play lots and lots and lots of hands. Get them under your belt. And then the last one was don't really focus on if other people are bad or good and what they're doing. Just focus on if you could be doing anything better or different.
Yeah, focus on your game.
Okay.
Focus on your mistakes.
Okay. I think that's
Because
good.
Because you're not at the spot, right, where you're not at the spot where you should be thinking about other people's mistakes, like, oh, what are the population doing and how can I exploit that? You're a beginner, you need to just think about, okay, I'm bad, how can I improve? Or I don't know what I should be doing here, I don't know what to do in this spot, I don't know what to do in that spot, what should I 3-bet here, what should I open from here, what hand should I be betting this flop with, right? There are so many complex things that you're doing wrong, so you need to focus on that and not like, oh, why did that guy call me with, Jack 8 offsuit, or why did you do that kind of thing? Just that can come later down the line. Just focus on really like cleaning your fundamentals. Okay,
so ask yourself kind of questions. What should I do here, and then try and figure them out, basically.
Yeah, and I guess on top of that, like a spin-off point to that is talk to people that are better than you. Like try and soak up as much free knowledge as you can. People that are playing higher stakes than you, that you respect the game. Like just use as many free resources as you can. Like Twitch, watch players online, like. Things we talked about that kind of make it minus EV for the streamer, like exploit that to the point of benefiting yourself, like learn from them.
Yeah, there is a lot of, and All in Pav talks about this a fair amount. There's a lot of free stuff out there for new players. Like you don't actually have to pay much money to learn about things if you look for it. Scrolling back at the chat, Morvana, hello, how's it going? Welcome, thank you for joining this special stream with Luke Martin. The stickman, the mighty stick. Kimazu. Question: have you played any 6+ Hold'em? Your thoughts on that game? Well, I'll answer it very quickly, and that's no. I've never played short stack. So, Luke.
I haven't played any.
Okay.
But it looks like a really great game. I think it's worth learning for sure.
Okay, interesting. Well, when you say great, do you mean kind of fun or interesting or?
Both things are a very, very action-paced game. I think it will become. I think we'll see a lot more of it, honestly.
Interesting. What do the rest of you think in chat about 6+? What did you call it?
It's
short deck. Yeah. What do you guys think of short deck? And have any of you played it? Run Like Craig, Supermod Mike. Doug Polk got quite a lot of grief when he stepped away from the poker limelight, despite having put out a ton of content for free. That's kind of true. Now Tonka is taking a break from scheduled streaming. Do you worry about burnout, and do you do anything to try and prevent it? Good question.
I mean, you do a lot more poker content streaming than I do, so you're probably better to answer that. As for me, not really.
You don't really worry about burnout?
No, because also it's like if you get a lot of grief for stepping away, I mean, Doug Polk had a way bigger like following than either of us have or potentially even will have, right?
Oh, of course. I mean, he's
obviously going to get a lot
he's a big name.
hate and grief and stuff.
Yeah.
I suppose you can't please everyone,
Yeah. But from the burnout thing, you don't really worry about it.
Well, for me, not really, because like I'm never going to promise people to stream every day of my life. So to me, it's like I'll stream a schedule that I think's healthy for me. And if I feel that situation changes and it's no longer healthy for me or doesn't make me happy, I'll let people know and I'll adjust my schedule. And I assume most reasonable human beings will understand that.
Sure. I think your uncle said cool. NL Padwan, do you think there is more EV in online MTT or cash?
Cash for me, MTT for you.
I mean, it is a very vague question. It's not a vague question. It's a hard question to answer because more EV. In that context, it's hard to say what more EV means precisely. Sorry.
I would say generally MTTs, especially at the sort of maybe mid or lower stakes. If you're going like really into the EV side of things, I would argue that people in very, very like micro stakes entities, it has to be more EV in the micros. One, because the rate in cash would just be ridiculous, and two, because even some micro playing cash players are kind of try hard mode, whereas a lot of the guys playing like $1 or $3 MTTs, people get kind of bored and just like punt off their stack, right? And that's just got a ton of EV, or they have to go to work or whatever. Like people overestimate how much time they have and how oh, I'll play a tournament, and then suddenly their wife calls them and says, oh, you need to get kids from school or something, and they're like, oh shit, and they just like, game whatever. So
yeah, I like that. Try hard mode. Yeah. I guess that's kind of interesting, but I think you probably got a point. Trashy Donk.
Running Sims at 5 an hour, right? Not they will be running Sims at $5 tournament or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Trashy Donk, how's it going, Trashy? Gus is in. Good to see you, man. Doug Polk does not care about poker players and wants to be known as poker celebrity / Savian investor. He got the fuck out when the going got tough and milked the poker community using his celebrity status. Okay.
I don't know. I don't personally know the guy.
Yeah, but, obviously I don't either.
He's a pretty good guy, and he definitely has solid morals, in my opinion.
Okay. NL Padwan at Solid Thought. If you would start out at low stakes cash games again, how would you go about improving your game? I think I would. I think I would watch a lot of training videos. I think I'd go on to Run It Once or something and watch a lot. I think that's what I'd probably do. The other thing that I would do is probably try and talk to a lot of... I mean, this is what Luke said earlier, but I would just try and talk to a lot of much better cash game players than me. So if I was starting out at 2NL, 5NL or 10NL, I'd try to get in contact with some 200NL, 100NL guys and just chat to them. Chat to them, and if they kind of don't want to know, it depends how much you want it, really. Not everyone offers coaching, but if you want to get better, there's a limit to how much you can just do by yourself in a way. There's a very small select amount of people that just have the brain just to kind of get good at something on their own. I'm certainly not one of those people. I needed to be kind of, led the way for a fair amount of my career. So if you're learning from the bottom and you really want it, at some point you're probably going to have to ask for some help at some point, and not all help is free. So that's why I think these coaching sites are pretty damn good value for money, really. I don't know what you think about that, Luke.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's like any other career, right, or any other kind of area of expertise. Like, one of the best ways to improve, like in business or like playing music or sport, anything kind of thing, is to just speak to people that are further down the line than you are in the same industry. Like, if you need to find yourself ideally like a mentor that you click with that can help you. Often that can become a point of, like you said, it doesn't always come free. Sometimes you have to invest in yourself and pay for some coaching or give up a percentage of yourself. I think there are a lot of ways to improve yourself. As you said, it's doing it all yourself is often a very uphill climb, because it's also hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to show yourself, to identify your own mistakes when you're a novice, right? It's hard for you to if you play golf. If you go down the golf range and you can't hit a ball very far, you can't hit it straight, you don't know why you can't hit the ball straight, do you? You need to go and find a golf pro who's been playing golf for years who can tell you like what's wrong with your stance or
Sure.
whatever it might be. But I'm terrible at golf, by the way. This is imagine, but yeah.
No, it's a fair point.
To become very good at golf, I would go and get some golf coaching. And I'd watch lots of videos, and same thing as poker. Yeah,
and I think the other interesting thing about poker, and one of the things that makes it really hard, people talk about this a lot, is of course the fact that poker is not results, or shouldn't be results based, at least in terms of theory and learning and improving. Of course, it's hard to be a professional poker player if you've lost money for five years in a row. People have to make money, but in terms of being the absolute best player that you could be, you can be doing all the right stuff for a long period of time, for months, potentially years, and things don't go your way. And in but in most walks of life, I mean, again, you could use golf, but if you just picked up a golf club and then suddenly you were just nailing everything straight onto the green every single time, you're hole in one and like 4 out of the 9 holes every 9, and you were just amazing at golf week after week after week, and you were just amazing, it would be fair to assume, and for others to assume, that you were good. And if you picked up a guitar and out of nowhere you were just BB King the shit out of everything, and you just sounded like an absolute monster, then I think it's fair to say you'd be a good guitar player. But you can have 3-6 month winning stretch at poker, and this is the problem that a lot of people, and it's not their fault, they'll fall into. They'll have a very profitable 3 months. They'll win a bunch of tournaments, or they'll make a killing at the cash games, and they will, understandably, assume they're quite good at this. Yeah. And it's kind of unfair, because they might be, but they also might not be, because the results don't mean everything. And when you're coming up, and for both me and Luke, it's an ongoing battle. Not listening to these results and just assuming they're given and they're correct is really tough. If you're winning a lot, it's really hard not to think you're doing right things or doing things well. If you're losing a lot, it's quite hard not to think maybe I'm doing something wrong. So the struggle that new players have in doing that is quite big, really.
It's like false confidence sort of syndrome or something it's called. Where you're right, and it's kind of where it's often why people work harder on a downswing, because there's often they haven't got the confidence, and they're like, oh, I'm losing, even though they might be playing well and it's just variance. They're like, oh, I'm so bad, I need to improve. I'm not even being 25 an hour or whatever it is. They just study, and they get better. Whereas guys that play 25 an hour and are crushing it, and even though they're just crushing it because of card distribution, variance, and other factors, they think, oh my god, I don't need to study, and then they get hit really hard when the variance comes. Yeah,
and I think it's all just a good reason why at some point getting some form of external help is going to be a good thing, because to just work out everything yourself and to somehow ignore variance, ignore the results, and just see your game for exactly what it is pretty damn hard to do truthfully, honestly, and correctly yourself, especially as a new player. So
yeah, definitely.
It's pretty hard to learn from the scratch, but of course, as Luke said before, it's possible. Just catching up with these chats. Run Like Craig. This is at Trashy Donk. This is a Gus. He had the balls to say that he wasn't as good as the guys coming through, so should be applauded for that, in my honest opinion. He was also a boss when it came to card removal. Like him or hate him, he put out good content. He's a solid, decent guy, but it's obvious from some videos he doesn't give a fuck for regs and cares for his bank. Question.
When you think about that comment, though, at the same time, who can say hand and heart they care about other regs more than they care about their income, right? It's
yeah.
Doesn't make them a bad person,
Yeah. Question from Run Like Craig. Should I bother tagging a player who has a DNegs photo as fish, or just be thankful they've done it for me already? I'm really happy for those guys to carry on thinking they're great and not get coaching. I think most of the questions that I thought about asking you pretty much have either been asked by me or by the chat.
Yeah.
Maybe this should have been asked at the start, but Luke, when you're not crushing cash games or heads up hypers or 6-mac hypers or live MTTs or live cash, and when you've finally forgotten about the most recent cooler, what do you do when you're not playing poker? What do you like to do?
I like to. I'm just a normal person, really. I like to see friends. Go out partying and drinking a little bit, maybe too much recently, but tone that one down.
Celebrations. Celebrations.
Yeah, celebrating too much. Yeah, eat too much pizza.
Eat too much pizza. Favorite pizza?
Favorite pizza has to currently. I go through phases. Pepperoni is always solid, always at the top. Currently, but pepperoni and bacon has been my go-to pizza. I'm loving that one, man.
Pepperoni. Okay.
Pepperoni and bacon. Yeah.
Okay. Got a.
Have you cut out, or is it me?
Sorry.
Oh, no, you're there. Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm still here. I'm just trying to find something.
next live MTT plan, WSOP, let's see. Oh, Dust to Dawn in March, April. Hopefully avoid live MTTs as long as Pete lets me. Sounds really ungrateful you just win one, but yeah, just, I don't know. Don't know about you, Pete. If you plan to go somewhere, I might tag along, but we'll see.
For live MTT?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike's mentioned this Dust Till Dawn thing. I mean, I'm going to need a pretty good reason to get on a plane to go and play a tournament in Nottingham, you know? I mean, it's going to have to be a very slow structure. I'm going to need...
Not in a period, right?
Yeah. All right, so, you like seeing friends, doing normal things, eating nice pizzas. I see you've got a guitar there. We can see that. Can you show the guys the chat your guitar?
Not sure how much you can
Very
see.
nice. It looks really nice. Nice camera, by the way.
Nice what, sorry?
Nice camera.
Yeah.
Okay, so quick fire questions that have not been planned, believe it or not.
Okay.
And when I say favourite, it doesn't have to be your true favourite, but it's mainly just first thing that comes into your head. But favourite guitarist?
Ooh. Can I give you like three?
Yep.
Joe Bonamassa / I'm going to probably put out there John Mayer.
John Mayer. Okay. Favourite singer? One male, one female.
That's difficult. Again, I'll give you a few males and a few females. So, going to be boring and put Michael Jackson out there.
Okay. Gaz would approve. Shout out to Gaz.
Yeah.
Parkour.
I'm going to put Trey songs out there, which is going to be kind of surprising for people as an R&B singer that I just love his work.
Okay.
Females. I mean, it's just too obvious to say things like Beyonce, you know.
Okay.
But Beyonce's a beast. I've got to put Beyonce out there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question. Not sure.
Okay. Favorite album?
Favorite album. Man, that's tough. It's got to be an Oasis album, I think.
Ooh. What a surprise! What a turn up for the books. Got to be an Oasis album. Wow. Let's have it, Luke. What is it?
I'll have a look.
I mean, there's quite a catalogue now.
There is. You could put best of Oasis, you know.
Favourite album, best of Oasis. Okay, well played.
Maybe Be Here Now, you know, it's torn.
Be Here Now.
Yeah.
That makes me so happy. Wow. Okay. Favourite sport to watch?
Favourite sport to watch, probably basketball.
Favourite sport to play?
Probably basketball. Yeah.
Favourite non-alcoholic beverage?
Favourite non-alcoholic beverage? Probably Coca-Cola, but I don't drink it too much, but used to be a big fan.
Which variety?
If I ever drink Coke now, it's Coke Zero, but the
Okay.
classic Coke in a glass bottle, cold, you know.
Okay, nice.
About that, dude.
Okay, you know what's coming next. Favourite alcoholic beverage?
Vodka soda.
Vodka soda. Okay.
Yeah, keep it simple, you know.
Yep, simple. Very nice.
There's George Michael. Careless Whisper.
Careless Whisper.
That's got a point. I mean, actually, add George Michael in there.
Okay, yeah. Favourite city?
Favourite city? I'm going to say Tampere, you know.
Well played. Tampere. Moro. Favourite actor / actress? You can have one of each if you want.
I'm gonna have a couple. I'm gonna have Denzel Washington. I'm gonna have Tom Hardy. And then for actress, this sounds really lame, but I'm gonna go Keira Knightley.
Okay.
Yeah.
when I saw Mike in Worcester recently, asked him this question or a similar question, and he made the very good point that not all films were created equal in terms of trilogies, etc., or franchises, whatever the word is. They have their own thing. So, for example, if there's a film like Saw 1, 2, 3, 4, and if you say favourite film, then if you say Saw, you kind of
cheat it.
You include them all, but no. It's more of a case of if you have favourite film, you'd have two favourite films. You'd have like a favourite individual film, and then you'd have favourite film that you would just say the whole franchise. So I'm going to say favourite 3 films that are kind of one-off films, and then next question is going to be 3 favourite films that are like 1, 2, 3, or kind of.
Okay, so one-off films first. I'm going to go
Gladiator.
I'm going to throw Wolf of Wall Street out there. I love it. I'm not sure
nice.
It qualifies as top 3 films, but I love it.
Okay.
And then it's tough for the last one. I'm going to be really cheeky and just have a few. I want to say either Interstellar, Inception.
Okay.
And then as for you said trilogy films.
But
Die Hard has to be the top.
Okay.
It's got to be there.
Okay.
Then I'm going to add the Blade trilogy.
Okay.
And then, can't really think of many more, because I'm not, I don't really like Lord of the Rings, so I can't think of those sort of people on. So yeah, it really does me, honestly, for
Interesting.
If you had one song played every time you entered a room, or you could, it'd have to be Pony by Magic Mike, or the Genuine Magic Mike song.
Oh, I think I do. Yeah, I think I do know the one. Yeah, I think I do. Yeah, that's funny. Okay.
Yeah, Blade was a great song. A great film, sorry.
Gaming manufacturing equipment of choice. Well, I think I've worded that badly, but you know what I mean.
Do you mean like a computer, peripherals?
Like keyboards, mice, headphones. Who makes the best stuff as a company?
I have to say Razer, which I know I got paid for, but
okay.
I know they're overpriced. I love Razer.
What headphones have you got?
Oh, these are Bose.
Okay.
So for sound stuff, I like Bose.
Okay, seems nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite animal.
Favorite animal. Why is that so tough? Really tough one, man. It's be boring and say tiger.
Okay. The boring say tiger. Favorite season.
Favorite season.
Yep.
Is it season of the year or
season of the year? Yeah.
Depends where I am. But it's because summer can be too hot in some places. I'd probably say the autumn.
Autumn is your favourite?
Yeah.
Favourite season? Okay. Favourite day of the week?
Favourite day of the week? I think Friday.
Okay. Favourite planet in the solar system?
Probably Earth.
Okay. Okay, nice.
Favourite I'd say Neptune.
Okay, so Neptune gets a respectable silver medal.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I got how do I not show my notifications? This isn't interesting, but you can't quite see. But I've got Neptune as my. Here you go. Now you can see.
Okay, nice. Okay, that's cool. Very nice. Okay.
Got to respect 9,000 mile per hour winds.
Yeah, that's quite a lot of wind.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. What was I going to ask next? Had something on the tip of my tongue. Oh yeah, favorite make of car.
Favorite make of car. I mean, it's kind of kind of boring again to say Ferrari, but I mean, he's saying if I could have any car, like, I'd probably be boring.
It's not really have, but I guess it kind of is. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably get a Ferrari.
Okay.
I like Range Rovers as well.
Watch manufacturer?
Breitling.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. That's an easy one.
It's an easy one.
1967 Chevy Impala, yeah.
Favorite phone?
Favorite what, sorry?
Phone manufacturer?
I mean, I have an iPhone, but I guess I don't really care. Like, I think Apple are overpriced and potentially not really up in their game these days.
Okay.
I think Samsung are quite good. Honestly, I don't know a lot about phones, but like I have an iPhone. And I like iPhones in some regard, but the more I have them, the less I'm kind of impressed. Yeah.
Okay. In terms of guitar, acoustic or electric?
Electric.
Okay.
Yeah, I have more fun on electric. I only have an acoustic out here in Finland, but I do need to buy myself a nice electric guitar. I'm looking to get a PRS. I think that's
PRS. Okay, nice.
I wanted a Gibson Les Paul, but I haven't played a few. I hate to say it, I don't like them as much maybe as PRS, which kind of sucks because they look awesome.
Okay, so that'll be something that you might be treating yourself to soon.
Yeah.
Seems like a good treat.
Like since I was 13 or whatever, holding one, I was like, yeah, I've got to get one of those. And I went to, as you know, we went to a guitar store a while back for me to go buy myself one. Tried a couple and just haven't found the right one yet that I really liked for that amount of money. Whereas I played like a €1,000 PRS and I loved it.
Okay, cool. So that could be the next guitar then. Is that the only? Yeah. That's the only one you've got here, the acoustic. So that'll be a second one here. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, Luke. I think we've been going quite a while. I think we've been going to about 90 minutes for the questions and stuff. So, would anybody be interested in a very small, friendly home game which we could do with no delay? And I just will not show my table, but we could play a microstate home game if anyone's interested. Just like I don't know, we could do something silly like a 10-cent rebuy or a $1 freeze out or whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
1 for yes, 2 for no, or something like that. Now I have to play Pony on the guitar to sign off. Luke, you got some signature jams, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. He does. I wish I could, but Trashy is voting off. But he wants to.